Let's wait for YouTube to load in a little bit.
Eric and his belly action.
I don't see that chat. Where is that chat? I gotta pop it up. Yeah, let's pop it up. There we go. Oh, hi, Eric. How's it going? Hi, Henrique. How's it going?
Eric's on both.
That's awesome. How's it going, guys? Let's just wait for YouTube and Instagram to roll in. I'm gonna get my Kyusus ready, and then Steven, can you help me set up the comments so I can see them on Instagram?
Sure.
Yeah, so I can say hello to everyone on both sides. Good afternoon, guys. Rhea here. I'm a little sniffly. Can't catch corona through the video, but I think it's just seasonal allergies. My face is super itchy.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, but we went for a bike ride this morning, and I was feeling fine. Then once we got back, I'm just like, wow, nature is so itchy. But it was fun. And it's so weird to see people out and about on Saturday, because even if it's a weekend, usually people aren't really out much here in Las Vegas. We're not really an outdoorsy town. But it was good. So I hope that you guys are doing okay too, wherever you are. And yeah, we'll do some practice with some Kyusus today. I got one more I gotta grab. Here you go. Now we got the whole team. And yeah, today I wanted to just practice a little bit with these Kyusus. I really like side-handled pots. I don't know what it is about them, but just they feel really good to handle. And they, you know, they just feel really good and experiment. So I wanted to share my collection with you guys today and also test out how they perform with different teas. If some of you are wanting to get a Kyusu in the near future, or you've been curious about what really makes them worth buying or collecting or testing, this is the live show for you. Yeah, let's get started by picking what tea. What tea should we test today with these Kyusus? Each of these Kyusus, I have 5 of them here. Let's see. These guys are kind of classic Japanese tokoname Kyusus. So they have a similar color, but one is meant to look like an authentic one. Any guesses? Any guesses? I'm not gonna make you guys, you know, if you're not on chat, that's fine. But in your head, try to make a decision as to which one you think is the authentic one, and why you made that, you know, decision. We can make a call as to why. And if you get it wrong, that means you'll be able to remember better why you got it wrong, you know? So for example, if you picked this one because it's more shiny, you know, it looks more polished, it's bigger, more heft to it, I can tell you that actually no, this is not the one that's more quote unquote authentic. This is a more mass-produced kind of factory style. And authenticity, different levels, you know, they're both from Japan. They're both, you know, they both make tea really well. But the one workshop handmade by a tokoname artist who specializes in making these pots, you know, is this one here, the one that's less shiny. And a lot of the factory-made pots that you see will tend to have this kind of like polished shine to them. It's almost like they've been painted on. And you can see where, see this part here with the lid is a different color. It's a little bit darker than the inside and the outside, which is kind of odd, you know? Why would it be to want or have a time to paint over with red clay or paint? Then outside's more shiny, which is interesting. So this one here is a little bit more even from just the polishing texture as what's on the outside. Here, this is a little bit more shiny. These are some of the little like clues that kind of clue me into what's going on with a specific teapot. You know, well-made teapot between 2 teapots, so that when you're out buying your own Kyusu, you have at least a little bit of knowledge that you're armed with to kind of like choose and pick, if that makes sense. So Henrique from Darfur Player, shinier stuff is usually fake. That goes tea. The crappier the tea it is inside. Like if you have this beautiful package with like gold leaf and all the, you know, bells and whistles, it's going to be a crappier tea inside because they had to say something outside to make up for what's inside, you know. So yes, Henrique, this one here is the more quote unquote, yeah, you know, I think authentic's not the right word to use here. This is the higher end. This is the higher end teapot, because they're both certainly from Japan. It's not like one was made somewhere else and then called Japan, you know. So this is a more high end one. It's a better way to talk about it. Jen from Tea Leaves and Tweed, and hello from the other side of the country. Eric, what's the name of Japanese clay again? Shide. So Shidei. Shide clay, I think is what you call it. And see, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think Shide clay, Japanese red clay, is a similar word to the word juni from Chinese. So Shide and juni are pretty similar. I seem to be talking about, like, you know, like original good quality clay. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think it's SHU, not SHI. See, there you go. Shude, not Shide. Gosh, it sounds similar because Chinese and Japanese will pronounce SHI as Shude. So that's, I'm mixing up the spelling, but we got it. It's Shude. So this is called Shude clay here. But yeah, all right. Let's get started. What should we test here? Either. And then our friend Eric Glass or T Sleuth on Instagram has a ton of Kyusu. So if anyone wants to go to his house and hold him down while I get the Kyusus from his cabinet. See, I know it's in a cabinet. You let me know, because that guy has a lot of Kyusus. Let me know if you have a bunch of them. I'm sure some of you also have your own Kyusus at home. Every single Kyusu is a little bit different and will react in different ways. And, you know, at the very, very top surface, that might be a little bit intimidating. I think 4 is a lot. Yeah, I mean, if I just could have like a Kyusu that I could like turn a dial on and it'll change the flavor of the tea, I think that might be better, you know. But I like having them because they seem to do different things with different teas. So that's why, and they're pretty. I can't deny that I really like how they look. So let's say hello to our friends from Instagram. Seeing James from Single Origin Tea, Esther E. Blanc. I'm asking why paint it? To make it look shinier. This is the classic red color of. I think my friend Eric told me that actually there is even more authentic tokoname clay that's a little bit more brown color than this. And then they put some extra like constituents to make the clay really pop in color. So why paint it? This is done not just for tokoname clay, but I've seen it with Yixing teapots too, Chinese teapots, where it's like they made the pot and then to make it shiny, they paint it, you know, and that's to get the kind of like really attractive color. And you know how things go with your tea taste. You know, something that's really shiny is more striking usually when you're first starting to collect teapots. This is my oldest pot. And you can kind of see how things have gone. Arguably, it's not as interesting looking, you know. On first glance, this is more shiny, more beautiful. It's got more, you know, sizzle. This is just matte, but this is my favorite now. I'm also saying to TJ, to Tulia Penna, Ethel Ritzy, and other friends as well. Okay, so I'm going to be focused, but I will check in here on the Instagram chats from time to time as well. If you have some time to hang out with us and brew tea, the YouTube is the more convenient one, so you can just type and then brew tea. They're nice to look at. It gives me a lot of joy to have them. I sacrifice a lot of other things in my, you know, life collection to like collect teapots, but it gives me a lot of joy. And what I'd like for you guys to do is when you do get the teapot of your dreams, hands up, you know, like I personally choose my teapots based on appearance first, and then the material comes later. Like it's when I see the pot that I want, I'm like, wow, like I really want that pot. It's really pretty, but let's face it, I'm not sure what the pot's gonna taste like. So most of my teapot purchases, both Kyusu and Gaiwan, and even for other kinds of teaware, are aesthetic first. Basically, I buy it because it's pretty, it's shiny. And then afterwards is when the testing comes around. So yeah, absolutely none of these teapots I bought because I wanted the performance of them. Except for maybe this one. I wanted like a classic tokoname after I got this one, which is, you know, filter. I wanted like a classic tokoname. So this is the only one I bought maybe 50-50 for practical uses, and then also because it was beautiful. The rest of them I got because they look nice. You know? So and not all of them are Japanese. So Kyusu is a name for the Japanese style side handle, you know? The little thing that looks like a bong for some reason to some people. I mean, it's not for some reason, it looks kind of funny. But this one here is Korean, and it is side handled. We still call it a Kyusu. I imagine that in Korea there is a word for these side handled babies. I'm not sure what it is. So if anyone knows what you call a side handled Korean teapot, let us know. For now, I just call it a Kyusu. The same goes for any like American made or, you know, Czech Republic made, Polish made, anything else. I call a Kyusu if it's side handle. Let's see. And then Eric says sometimes they add minerals to the clay for color. Yes, so that's with. The color comes from like the firing and the kiln, stuff like that. I'm not a ceramics expert, but there's a lot of things they can do to boost the color for sure. And some makers will be focusing on the aesthetics, and some makers will focus on the performance. I find the best pots are made by potters who know how tea will taste in their pots and also have an aesthetic sensibility. So we'll talk about each of these pots and where they're from, what I make of them, etc. Along the way. Single origin tea, James. I like big pots and I cannot lie. I will say this out loud for you. Jen, I was having connection issues on YouTube. So those of you on YouTube, hang tight, hang on to the rope, and then Jen will try to pull you back if you try to come back on YouTube. Esther, can someone who has flat Japanese teapots versus regular or round one tell me what the major differences are between the infusions of the same tea? So Esther will talk about that too. So let's start first with testing them out. Yeah, how about we test out these two guys to see what the performance is with the same Japanese green tea. I think it's a good place to start for us. So we'll let these guys kind of hang out for a little bit, chill out. And yeah, they look pretty similar. You know, if I was just starting out and I saw these on a shelf, I wouldn't know what the differences are between these two. Which one do I get? On the side, they have a pretty similar shape. One's shinier, one's not. So what's going on, you know? So let's go ahead and test these with a Japanese green tea, if that's okay with you guys. I find that both pots do well with Japanese green tea, and both of them, you know, being super like, this is, when you see a pot like this is classic modern like tokoname in Japan. Tokoname is I think it's the biggest or most famous kiln in Japan for making pots and, you know, other kinds of pottery, but a lot of teaware comes out of there. And when you see these shapes, this form here, the spout, the color about what you'd like to get if you so choose to expand your teapot collection. If you don't have a Kyusu yet, I hope that you are inspired to get one. And then Esther, if you got time, let me know, because I would like to talk about this question, the flat Japanese teapots versus the more round ones. So all of mine tend to be relatively rounded. Some that are called, gosh, what do you call those? We call them pancake pots. Our friend here in Vegas has one. We call it pancake pot. It's really, really wide and really, really narrow. And what they're made for is usually to help you infuse something like gyokuro, or really, really high-end sencha evenly. Because when you put the leaves, surface of the pot, if you have a pot like this, the surface is kind of going this way. So when you put you put the leaves in to the pot, the leaves will have a little bit of a curve going on, unless you don't put too much. With the really, really thin, really, really wide pots, when you put the leaves on, they're kind of like even. And when you infuse them, they rise evenly. They kind of like, they just move evenly inside the pot. So it's like really, really even, really, really careful infusion when you have flat pots. You usually don't need that kind of babying for most teas, but if you really want to like up the performance, I find they do really well for that purpose. I don't have one, as you can see, but that's the benefit of having tea friends. If you have a tea friend who has one, you just steal it from them for a little bit. And we've done some of those kind of like group form, both in shape and size and stuff, and it's really fun for sure. If you ever get a chance to compare with people who have similar pots, we don't get as many allergies, I guess, because I've never gotten hit by an allergy season this bad. My face is itchy. I'm just trying not to scratch my face. And you know, these days, if you sneeze in the grocery store, I almost feel like the SWAT team is gonna like tackle you and put you in a containment vessel. So, yeah, that's all. But just trying to make light of the situation. Oh my god, I really want to scratch my face. I'm not going to. I am not going to use to, you know, when you're meditating, you're not supposed to scratch your face or scratch your body. You're supposed to do it mindfully if you have to. So, you know, yeah, it's just, I can do this. Okay. Oh my gosh, Steven put these out. So Steven set my kettle that test where we wanted to see if it was better to boil water than cool it down or heat it to the right temperature. And I'm still like in this twilight zone where it's like with the stream, I had Steven redo the experiment completely independently of me to see if he would get the same results. And the color of the tea was more green. Again, so 3 different experiments by 2 people and then switching around the kettles to kind of mix it up. Seems like we're onto something. So for now, we've changed our approach to brewing water. We're just gonna brew. And then I think someone asked a question that I forgot to answer. What was it? Let me scroll back up to make sure. Let's see it. Let me just answer Delphine's question. Delphine, with flat pots, it's probably easier not to move the leaves, which makes a cleaner brew. Yes. So when you have a flat pot, Esther, make sure that the water just comes flowing out. And I will show you that today with these Kyusus. Different ways you can work with a surprisingly small space. You know, you might think you just put the leaves in, you put the water in, you pour it out. But because of the Kyusu's design and side handle and the shape of it, there are lots of things you can do to play around with what's going on inside the Kyusu for sure. So let's start with a comparison between these 2. If you have any questions about just classic tokoname Japanese Kyusus like these, let me know. And then I will show you a couple of Kyusu techniques you can try with my favorite one. And it'll make tea with a tea that I know really well again. I've been brewing a lot of this tea. This is tea and whisk Sayamidori Sencha. This tea, I've been drinking down a lot. I have a lot of it, so that's why I wanted to make sure I finished it. But I know this tea a lot. Again, I used it for the Tea Masters mixology competition last year to make a bell pepper, lavender, and egg white and fennel sencha drink. I know there's a lot if you don't brew it correctly. So I know this tea well. So it's a good choice for us to test out with these 2. There's a difference between the volume, right? So I will actually check to see how much volume goes into each teapot. I know it's not even, right? Because then what if it's because you put less leaf in the bigger one? So to adjust for it, I'm going to check how much water is here. And I'm going to weigh it out. I'm not sure if my scale will be able to handle it though. We'll see. And you can weigh out your water if your scale can handle. It's going to overload. Use this guy. There we go. Okay. This one's about 100 ml. Ooh. It's 120. Wow, it's a big Kyusu. Oh my goodness. And what I'm doing here is a volume just to make sure that I put the right amount of leaves in each teapot. Because if this one is 100 ml and this one is, oh my gosh, that's 240 already. This might be a 300 ml. We'll see. 300 ml pot. Yeah, that's 47 right up to the top. Oh wow, it's like 350. So I need to put 3.5 as many leaves into that one. It's not, you know, you don't always have to 3.5 times the amount of leaf in a pot. It's 3.5 times as big. Here, we're using the same scale. And weigh it out. So bear with me while I read out. I'll answer your questions. And then connection's not that good on YouTube, unfortunately, so sorry about that. I maybe need to improve my internet connection, or maybe everyone's home and using up all the neighborhood internet. I'm not sure. But if you have issues on YouTube, hop onto Instagram for now. I'll make sure to look over on the phone so I can answer your questions. And then cheers to Stephen in the background, being all cute and like making sure everything's working. I love it. Yeah, turn red, Stephen. Do it. Some of you have asked, like, where's Stephen? And like, where did he come from? He's actually someone who came to one of my tea classes. And I thought that the guy was into tea, but he just thought the teacher was. So if you're into tea, it's a possibility that you can meet someone who likes tea if you go to tea stuff. No, in all honesty, I find that tea is one of those hobbies that most people seem to be really nice, you know? Whether it's a hobby for you or a career. If you work at a tea house or a tea shop, I know Delphine, you work at Community Sinensis, and Esther, you used to work at Community Sinensis too. I find that tea people tend to be really nice. So just encourage the people you'll meet, your friends, your acquaintances, and also your potential dating partners are pretty cool people, you know? Like, this kid's pretty cool. So I recommend it. And yeah, my friends who don't work in tea are like, oh, people are so horrible. I hate people. How do you do it? Because I'm constantly talking to people and dealing with people. Most of us here tend to be from just talking to you guys one-on-one. And I can handle it if it's tea. But if it's people outside of tea, I almost like forget that I can't handle them. And I'm like, oh my God, humans are horrible. Gosh, like it's almost like the tea helps you root out all the people I don't want to deal with because they're assy. And within the tea community, just awesome people, you know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the patience to deal with like YouTube and Instagram, and it doesn't feel like work. That's for sure. Does anyone else agree with me? Is it just me? And then Gabby asked, what are you planning on drinking today? We're going to be testing some sencha out. We're going to be doing a couple different teas, I think, depending on what you guys would like to test using our Kyusus. I ask so that we can kind of trade notes, and anyone who's in chat who has experiences feel free to share. I only have 5. I'm sure between everyone here in chat, we have like at least 20 different Kyusus. So that's a lot of data. And then I gotta scroll up all the way. Denver, Tea Lady, Margot, how's it going? It's so nice to see you. It's been a long, long time. It's almost like for a couple days because of these snifflies, but for sure. And then Jan's Foodsteps asked about the bell pepper in the scent drink. Yes. So if any of you are interested, I'm willing to share with you the sencha drink I used for last year's mixology cup. It was a sencha steeped really, really, really friggin' hard. Just raw egg whites. And I got the idea from my friends in the bartender world who use egg white to kind of like cut bitterness. So I needed the strength, like a nice big fancy cup. Forgot to put the ice in. So yeah, it was fun. I didn't win that one. I didn't win either of them. So it's okay, but it was my first foray into mixology of any kind. I had a lot of fun. If anyone has any questions about that too, I'm happy to answer. Or any mixology recipes of your own. Hopefully sans alcohol, because I can't handle. I have like a sip of beer, and then I go to La La Land. It's not good. All right. So I'm counting here how many counts it takes for me to pour out all this water. Ideally, I'm going to want to match the same duration in the other teapot, 20 seconds now. And I want to match the style of pour, because if I pour a certain way with one pot and then a different way with the other pot, it might not be the material that's causing it to change flavor, but the way that I'm pouring. So that one is about 30 seconds. And I can't get the right timing down without pouring this a little bit too fast, but I want it to at least be around the same neighborhood, you know? So balancing the change in the pour, I don't know. I do it because I've just been learning time after time that these tiny details seem to do a lot to the flavor of the tea. And at first it's like, why? I don't get it, right? Like I didn't used to like pay attention to stuff like this either, but as I realized one small detail made a difference, maybe other things would make a difference, and then they all made differences. So now I'm just like, everything matters. And when something is as stripped down and simple as tea, yes, it's just hot leaves and water, and I totally, ascribe to that. I don't always do experiments, but when it's that simple, there's so much. It exposes everything, The more simple something is, the better your ingredients gotta be, the better your technique has to be. I hear from people in the food world that it's true. Like the more simple the dish is, the more excellent every single stage has to be. So I find that Hapnick's talking about the it's like a gaiwan, but it's got like a beak with holes poked in, and then you can pour it out. So you use kind of like a grip similar to gaiwan to pour it. And it is a Japanese teaware as well. So I don't have one. I would like to have one. Jen from Tea Leaves and Tweed. Everyone I know in the tea community is already partnered. I know a lot of my favorites. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. I wonder if I could sub the gin out for something else. Like I know that there's some non-alcoholic in your tea. You should test it out. I don't, because it's gonna Yes, I tend to steep things quite a long time, and that's because I tend to have teas that can handle being steeped quite a long time. I'm late. $14, $15, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20, $21, $22, $23, $24, $25, $26, $27, $28, $29, $30, the little bits, little bits, little bits, little bits, little bits. Cool. Something I can show you. If you have a cup, we'll go away from the leaves and we'll stop oversteeping your leaves. So this one I'm gonna hurry up because I know I got distracted. It's supposed to be 30 seconds, Ree. What's the point of counting if you can't even pay attention that long? When it comes to like these tea experiments, I have the attention span of a rabbit sometimes. I just get so excited. There's so many things to think about. Okay. All right, cool beans. So let's get some cups. Ooh. Use some more cups to test these guys out. And then, ooh, we'll leave the lid off. There we go. So I was talking about with these little like chopsticky things is when you have water in the sencha, you know, these like the goopy, the mass, it's the mass of sencha leaves that happens after you brew it in the Kyusu. There's still a little bit of water inside. Okay, I'm gonna do something really stupid so that you can see just in action what that is. Okay, all that stuff. It's like I thought I poured it out pretty well. I usually try to. With all this extra stuff, that just inevitably comes out of your Kyusu, you know? So I made a mess, but that's okay. I just wanted to make a point. There's always like extra stuff in your Kyusu, you know? Even this one that I seem to pour, I like to do, because I hate that. I don't like the taste of like an oversteeped little thing going on. I prop it up so that what's happening with the chopstick, all the leaves are over here. They got some elevation. Some of the water is going to go to the back. And yeah, so now the water is over here. The leaves are over here. Yeah, looks good to me. Now, let's check these liquor things out. Woo, big difference. So this one here is a lot deeper in color. For some reason, that pot team seems to brew a lot darker, and this happens a lot with teapots. I noticed that some of my Kyusus will brew a lot darker than others, and then this one is a lot lighter, more clear. So it's bright and clean and fresh. And that's more deep and kind of nutty. Good stuff. All right, let's try it out. Preheat our cups. Heighten the aroma, heighten the flavor, texture. You guys know this already. All right. So let me tell you what I've seen so far from these two pots. I tend to like this pot for brewing higher quality Japanese grains, like sencha and Gyokuro does well on it too. Comes to sencha, single cultivar stuff, the fancies, a bit brighter and more green. This pot's dope. And then this one here, I like to use for genmai-cha because it tends to bring out more nuttiness and also deep. Higher end studio, it's a shoji umehara pot. So single maker. This one's from a factory, from the same area, using, you know, relatively similar clay. But even when you hear the word tokoname, it might be in the same region, in the same factory. Heck, they might be down the street from each other. But every single maker will have different blends of clay that will affect the taste. Last thing. This guy has a clay filter on the inside. So it's the same clay that's used for the, oh gosh, spinach bits flying out. This is the same filter clay material. See, it's kind of red here. Same material that's the body of the pot. It takes a little bit more skill to get that done because it's, you know, hard to work with. And with this guy, you're dealing with a metal filter all around, okay? So you're adding a different material than the inside. Does it change the flavor? I think so. Let's try it out. Okay, let's try out this one first. It's the first one I poured. It's gonna cool down faster. I start with that one first. So good. It's just so lovely. I just like this pot a lot. So this pot I know tends to bring out really, really bright, crisp flavors from any tea, but mostly lighter teas. So it's almost like everything you want from the sencha comes out. The sweetness, the umami, it's a little bit fruity. Something I noticed from this pot, it tends to put a fruity note in some senchas. From the very beginning, from the first time I tried it, it can make my sencha have a honeydew note. And I like honeydew, so I really like this pot. And it tends to sweeten things a little bit, smoothen it out. And so when I brew tea, and think about what you're trying to aim for when you're brewing tea, what do you want the tea to do, either for you or whoever you're having tea with? And I don't like it when a pot changes the tea too much. I want it to be something that allows the tea to express more of itself. So I know this tea is a very well-rounded tea with lots of like complex flavors going on. This pot lets this tea become more of itself. Versus like this Banko Kyusu, which I use for hojicha, it tends to smooth things out a little bit too much, make things a little bit too heavy and sweet and smooth, which is really good for hojicha and roasted oolong. But it almost changes that sencha a little bit too much that I'm like, well, if I wanted something that sweet and that smooth, I might as well make a hojicha, you know? So I like that a lot. For this one, deep, really, really deep, kind of like bassy, you know, the astringency going on. And I find that it mutes the flavor a little bit. So I know it's a little bit weird because it's come out, but it's not as crisp. It's almost like when you're taking a camera photo, you take a picture and it's a little bit out of focus. Some of the focus goes away. It's not as crisp. And so the flavor notes is not as clear in this cut here. Yeah, just a little bit more like muddled, Is that a better word to use? Muddled? Yeah, it's just more muddled. It's not my favorite. Yeah, I mean, they both made tea really, really well. I think anyone would be happy with either of these steeps. There's nothing wrong with this one over here. But yeah, I just find that this is more complex. It's more crisp. It's more clean. It's more clean. It does what I need it to do, but it's just clearer, cleaner, crisper, more complex. C. All checking all the C's off. And this one's more muddled. But this might be better for some teas too. If you want to have a more kind of rounded, not so crazy, like all over the place taste, this might do well with maybe a fukamushi sencha that you want to keep more savory and nutty if you want to. But for me, even with fukamushi sencha, I like some of the more sweet umami notes to come out, and this one just crisps them up. So yeah, I just like this taste better. And I just like the liquor too, which is so clear and crisp and beautiful. So I like it. Steven, you want to test it out just to make sure I'm not crazy?
Sure.
I hope so. People have different taste buds. Unfortunately for me and Steven, we have pretty similar taste buds, but things, well, I tend to think a lot more about like complexity and flavor notes, Two different kinds of people, but that's why it's good to have friends. So you can test out to see if your conclusions are the same. Huge color difference. I mean, huge. I mean, come on. What is going on there? The color is that tiny bits of minerals are getting infused into the water when it can make the color change quite a lot. Our friend Henrique from Brazil, Henrique, you did an experiment with the waters. The Evian water was just so like dark and kind of like, wow, same tea, just different waters. So I think that's what's going on here to cause the color change to be so, intense. Yeah. What have I missed over an Instagram kind of dying? I missed the whole no anyone's single for me. So Eric has an amazing teapot collection. So if you'd like guys really tea sciencey. James, I didn't get to tune in for your Facebook live stream on your was it your dissertation? So James from Single Origin Tea grows tea in Florida and studies them at an academic level. So that's pretty dope. Yields, plant pathology, how it just performs, and American tea has had this bad rap, like, oh, American tea is dusty and soily. It's not very good. Well, that's bullshit. Every tea has really good things to kind of live up to because every terroir is different. Just take some time. So, for the record, I'm a big fan of American tea. Jen from Tea Leaves and Tweed, have you tried Seed Lip? We're talking back to the non-alcoholic tea mixology there. I haven't tried Seed Lip, but Seed Lip's supposed to be a non-alcoholic botanical alcohol substitute. If anyone's from Seed Lip, let me know, because your girl can use some for some tea cocktails. Yeah, I would like to try that. It's a little bit expensive, but I like the idea of using non-alcoholic botanicals for tea, just because tea, you can work with it with alcohol, but it's a little bit more tricky than say orange juice or even wine, because of the tea to stand up to the alcohol too. So I'd like to try that. Yeah. Apathea, how's it going? Okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So, results so far, this is the guy. Takeaways here, if you are looking for a Kyusu, I highly recommend picking up a good one. The difference in price here is, I think this is about $100 and this one's about 30 to 40 bucks. So not a non-zero difference, but I think the performance is so much better for the tokenomic teapot. And yeah, Japanese teaware is almost criminally inexpensive for what you get. Again, this pot is from Shoryu or Shoji Mahara. He's a, really experienced pot maker. I've never met him, but I got this pot from the website and they're just friggin' dope. I love that website. They have really good teaware and it's incredibly light too. Can you believe that this teapot is lighter than this teapot? Look at the size difference. But let me tell you, I think this one is around 140 grams, and this one's about 160 grams. I mean, huge size difference. You'd think that the little guy would be lighter, right? But the maker makes the walls so thin that you pick it up and it's really, really light. And, I think I haven't looked much into how the thickness of the walls changes the flavor of the tea. It's another thing for us to figure out and ask our ceramics friends about. But it just makes it so nice to handle. When you're choosing a Kyusu too, see how it fits. If you can handle it in person, see how it fits with your own palm and how well it fits with palm. Come in and then I reach out with my pointer finger to pour in. Okay, that's one way to do it. I find it's very, it's very comfortable when I pour. And then there's another way where you can use your thumb. You grip your Kyusu with your pointer finger, your middle finger. You kind of hook it, and then you have your thumb over on the lid. I have tiny hands, so I don't do this a lot. It's a little bit of a stretch for me, but it's pretty secure too. And then finally, if you have a Kyusu that helps you brew, you can have your finger on the lid. It's a little hot, but it seems to give you a little bit more control over it, similar to the pointer finger. But the pointer finger for me gives me the most control. If I need to lift the lid, I can, if I'd like to. If there's an issue, if there's a clog, sometimes the water seal is so tight that you need to lift the lid. I really like having the pointer finger up. It's seen as a more feminine style of pouring Kyusu. It just looks more quote unquote girly than this. You know, it's a little bit like you can see my forearms versus this. See? I like my limp, saggy forearms, and then if I use the thumb, now you see my forearms. So, ladies, I don't know what to see you, ladies. I'm taken. So, see what's comfortable for you, and pick a Kyusu that allows you to Kyusus that are a little bit more difficult to pour with, and you have to work with them a little bit differently. But I think everyone needs to have a Kyusu. Even just one that is easy to use, super comfortable, doesn't feel weird in the wrist. Like now my wrist feels weird doing the thumb thing. It's just not what I like. But this is just so comfortable for me. You want tools that you can just master and use so that you can focus on the making of the tea to express what you really want to come out in the tea. You know? So yeah. Looking on Instagram, Eric from Tea Sleuth. I guess I'm feminine then. I'm more quote unquote feminine. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I picked up kind of been from being yelled at by my teacher. Like, oh, don't do that. You look like a man when you do that. I'm like, okay, never mind. Not that I mind, but I do like to have a lighter touch. Medium hands. You have to adjust to figure out what works best for you, I would say. Yeah. As I sit here, I'm looking at Steven shop for teaware. Gosh. Come on, Steven, let's focus. All right. Questions, concerns, you know.
Oh, we gotta restart on Instagram.
Do we have to? You should be focusing on the live.
All right, ready?
Okay.
In 3, 2.
To shop for teaware, you can't pay attention to the Instagram live for a couple. Oh my gosh, but that's okay. Let me look at the live. Right, Steven, we're not supposed to be shopping for teaware right now. Come on. All right. So I want to drink them. They're just tiny drops of water, but I want to see what the difference is between those two and the taste of the water. I mean, the taste of the water that's been sitting in with the leaves. See, a little bit tannic and a little, like astringent. But yeah, let's do some more Kyusu testing. So I'll put these guys to the side. Oh, yeah, let me show you how to clean your Kyusu. I will infuse this again later. But who was it who told me this? Was it Delphine who showed me this? I forgot who showed me how to do this. Or was it Marjolaine from when you're trying to dislodge these leaves? If you hit it from the front, it does nothing. It's stupid. It's me. I hated physics. If you pat it from the back, it dislodges all the leaves instantly. So you have this little easy to clean, hunk of leaves that is, loose already. So that's how you dislodge essential leaves from the filter. Hit it from the back. Yeah, perfect. Okay. I know, Eric. Simple physics. What can I say? All right. Let's test out something else. How about we test out our 3 remaining Kyusus with something different? Yes, Japanese Kyusus, for those of you joining us. They're from Japan. Most of them are from Japan. This one is Japanese, but this one is Korean. But we call them Kyusu anyway. But they perform differently for any tea. And just because it's from Japan doesn't mean it's good for Japanese tea. And just because it's from Korea doesn't mean it's good for Korean tea. It's almost like saying that, I don't know, an American made car is really good for American roads. It's not. Can you go to Russia as American right now? You can drive an American car in Canada if you want to. How's that? So yes, even if your teapot arrives from Japan and it's made from like a famous maker, just because it's not mean it's going to be good for Japanese green tea. So we gotta test stuff. Now, I would like to test something that we haven't tested with these pots. I'm kind of tempted to do pu'er for these. I don't know why we're breathing really hard. Yeah, because we have the upcoming pu'er challenge, and I don't brew pu'er a lot. Decant the tea really quickly, and when you are working with pu'er, you usually want to decant the tea pretty quickly so you're not oversteeping it. But that's just a guideline. What if we can make the pu'er taste really good inside a handle pot? I'm curious to see if that's possible. Let's see. Eric, test pour or heat retention. Oh, we can test heat retention too. Ooh, we can test some heicha. Steven just pulling out like pu'er from the backstash. Not that heicha is pu'er. Yeah, it's fine. We got lots of this. Is that okay, Eric? Yeah, let's do that. So good. Wow. So we first started out with sencha with the first round of Kyusu experiments. We will now test out Kyusus with Hunan Heicha. So this is fermented tea. It's not pu'er because it's not made in Yunnan. And you know, pu'er is like, it's almost like champagne. Like you can make a champagne style wine. Champagne because only champagne has that like ability to use that name. Pu'er is the same way, where like you can have fermented tea, but technically you can't say pu'er, otherwise the tea police will knock down your door and say, that's not pu'er, dude, it's not for Yunnan province. So that's why with like the rise of Taiwanese pu'er and Japanese pu'er, you got a lot of people be like, it's not pu'er. It's okay. Just so we're not stepping on those landmines, we'll call them dark teas. So any fermented tea you can just call dark tea. Pu'er is under that umbrella. So this is the dark tea umbrella, okay? Pu'er is over here, and then other heichas are over here. Your Taiwanese pu'er is here. You got your Japanese fermented teas here. They're all dark teas or post-fermented teas. And pu'er is just dark tea from Yunnan. You're welcome to call, I don't mind if you call Taiwanese pu'er. I don't mind if you call Japanese tea pu'er. I mean, pu'er, but I think a lot of people will. So just so that we don't anger them, it's certainly not dark, you know? So is it really dark tea? I don't know. That's an issue too, because we're dealing also with some heicha that is raw. Like Hunan heicha that's done in the shangpu'er style that I think are also called heicha or dark tea. So, you know, I think that the term heicha or dark tea tends to just be not necessarily the color of the tea, but the fermented. And at the very beginning of their processing, shangpu'er and green tea are very similar. The only difference is I think we learned this from the Dragon Well pressing experiment. What separates green tea from shangpu'er is the fact that the shang is sun-dried and is also exposed to like a microbial environment that the green tea doesn't. So essentially, your really, 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 really young shangpu'er is green tea, you know? But again, I'm just digging myself a hole with all the things that the tea police might knock down my door from being dark tea by someone else, because they might be thinking about, let's say, the geographic designation. In China, tea is really strongly, so it's important for us to consider those other forms of interpretation. Mine might be different from yours, and that's okay, as long as we're able to know that we're talking about same things with different viewpoints, you know. I like to call heicha, you know, include shangpu'er there, so it's more simple. I think it's because I teach classes and I need to talk about these things faster. So having the young pour on the other side is like, oh my god, we gotta put it in another category. But yes, I think there's some muddy blurring of the lines there. That the more that we learn about tea, the more we need to be okay with. You know, getting crazy. Um, Esther, haha, Delphine, careful, we're going to enter into that whole Darjeeling first flush is not black tea debate. Yeah, I don't mind going into that debate either because, you know, if you look at there for when Yunnan became famous for pu'er, we weren't there when Darjeeling started planting tea and trying to copy Chinese tea and et cetera, et cetera. So it's easier for us to look at it and be like, Darjeeling first flush is really green. It's kind of like in between green tea and black tea. Isn't that just what oolong is? And I think it's valid for us to be like, why can't we just call Darjeeling oolong? Because it's so, you know, light. And yes, there are some differences between oolong processing and Darjeeling processing, but still, you know. But there's a historical aspect there that Darjeeling is supposed to be heavily oxidized. And from what I understood, learning a little bit about Darjeeling in Darjeeling, the reason why it's becoming brighter is because the taste of the black tea tends to be a little bit more sexy when you oxidize it less. And, you know, it's as you go up the steps in the Himalayas, you know, the higher elevation, the harder it is to oxidize darker. And so the processing style has adapted to be a little bit more green, so it tastes a little bit better, more sexy. But did it start as a black tea? Yes. Do they consider it a black tea in India? Yes. So it's like, I'm okay calling it either or. You know, like if someone's like, Darjeeling is so oolongy, I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, it's freaking black tea. It's a black tea. And if someone's like, you know, I don't know why approaches. And yeah, I would say we got a debate here on Instagram. Eric, I agree with you. Tea categories are too China. They get their own category, and like Chinese tea specialists are very particular about putting yellow tea on the category. So on my website, I decided how to think about this. What do I call the basic types of tea? Either I went white, black, green, oolong are the, you know, what most, you know, Chinese-based tea specialists and Chinese-based tea knowledge would say are the 6 categories. You're adding the yellow there. But in like our everyday lives, how many times do you have yellow tea? Like ever? Ever. I haven't had a yellow tea this year. I had maybe 1 yellow tea last year. I deal so little with yellow teas, but it has its own category. And then you have Darjeeling, which is kind of its own thing, but it doesn't have its own category. And then I have, you know, we find these like weird teas like Balyocha from Korea and some of the Japanese fermented teas and some of the Nepalese. In some ways, I feel like Darjeeling is as distinct of a category as yellow tea. But, you know, we can't say that because China is like the king of the world with tea, right? So I did decide that Delphine says categories should be tools to help us communicate, not prisons. I totally agree. I don't want to put the yellow tea there because if I'm teaching in a class, you know, or if I'm sharing tea with friends, white, green, oolong, black, and dark tea, we can drink that whenever you want. You know, I drink those every day. My friends drink that every day. But that yellow tea is that extra like, what's yellow tea? What is that like? And I'm like, we don't know. A lot of people, you know, like don't know and stuff. So yeah, it's just, yeah, that's why I decided to go with the 5 categories rather than 6. I do think yellow tea, it's quite different processing wise, but that's why I enjoy like the group of friends that we've developed here because I find that y'all seem to be a little bit less like, hey dude, like there's a lot of middle ground. The faster anyone is comfortable with the middle ground or the shades of gray, people who can't think in shades of gray, I think. Yeah. Anyway, we're supposed to be doing Kyusu, but we're talking about categories, but that's okay. Our Instagram and YouTube lives are not prisons of topics. If the topic goes there, so be it, you know. Esther says purple tea. What? How? I never heard of it. Purple tea is that, you know, high anthocyanin tea that's popping up in Kenya and Yunnan now. People want to call it their own category. it's processed like a black tea from what I understand, but if you go to World Tea Expo, people are like, purple tea, you know, it's a new type of tea, it's more healthy, etc. So, and the tokonami Kyusu in here. I'm gonna put this 1 gram of sencha into the other Kyusu. It's gonna end, but whenever I clang something in a teapot now, I'm like, Steven can fix it if it breaks. Sorry, Steven. All right. So let's test out this heicha with Japanese Kyusu. I like doing these kinds of like weird combinations so that I can offend someone somewhere. You did what with Japanese Kyusu? Japanese Kyusu is supposed to be for Japanese tea only. That's a theoretical someone out there. I'm sure there's someone out there. He's probably not going to be in a Tea Curious like live. He probably got driven off a long time ago, whoever that is. But there are people like that, and God bless them. I don't think that they'll get very far in tea because the parts of me that are like that have just been singed out by the tea practice. You know, what you think is true, the rules that you think exist, they just don't exist. So, yeah. Eric sounds like I need to date a Steven too. I mean, he's okay.
There's lots of us out there.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you mess up somehow, I should get a Steven that can check the Instagram live instead of shopping for tea. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Sorry, Steven.
Your gaiwan's never getting fixed.
Gosh. My favorite hand-painted gaiwan is chipped right now. That thing's fallen like 3 or 4 times. Only one of the times was my fault. The other 3...
Or someone's fault.
It's okay. Ken's always here. Yeah. Clumsy than others. This is like less hand-eye coordination. I tend to not be the most like physically skilled person. Like I don't do a lot of sports. I do like to bike and hike and stuff, and I took sports here and there when I was growing up. They're chefs or cooks or, they do sports, but they're really friggin' clumsy. So I'm like, how are you able to balance like a walk or like, it's funny because I'm not breaking any of my stuff, but yeah. I'm gonna do, we need to, do I wanna adjust them by volume? Do I want to adjust them by volume, Steven? Do I want to just do 1 gram each? Let's just do 1 gram each. Okay. So I'll put 1 gram in each of these pots, and I will pour the water into a glass pitcher. No, that's going to change the material. So, yeah. I'm going to pour for 5 seconds with a steady pour to get around the same level of water. And I'm not going to fill them up to the top. I just want to save some of this tea. I don't want to, yeah. Sometimes I do I do mix up the experimental variables a little bit, but I just want to weigh the volumes out. I'm lazy. Eric says hand-eye coordination and balance. I guess so. Okay. So testing out these Kyusus. 1 gram each. Maybe 5 seconds of water. It's not the most scientific, but as long as you're aware of what's not going right or controlled for, it's okay, I think. So 1 gram each. There we go. That's 1 gram. Ooh, that's wet. Ugh. Now I gotta make sure all the other ones are wet too. Okay. All right. Drink from the teapot spout. I'm not gonna do that, dude. I'm sorry. So this tea here is a Tianjin Heicha from Hunan province. It's a very warming, very kind of like pretty serious tea, I think. It's not too introspective. It's just, I feel like it goes pretty deep, this tea. It's very flavorful. It's very full. It's got a lot to give. And unlike a lot of pu'ers or heichas, it's not so much about the earthiness or dankiness of it. It's got a really clean flavor. So what I want to pull from this tea is that depth and kind of like fruity, sweet character. I'm a sweet tooth, so some of you might prefer a more like bitter or sour flavor in your tea, and that's okay. But I like to pull a little bit of sweetness from my tea. And then I want these pots to not take away from the good aspects of the tea either. So that's important to me. So plus points for boosting sweetness and texture, and then minus points for introducing bitterness or dryness or sourness, making the tea liquor too thin. I don't want those to pop up in my tea. All right. Report in. We really need to get a scale that can handle being measured out for sure, Stephen. Or borrow one from Tea and Whisk, since let alone here. So it's almost like they're getting hit twice. It's not fun. Okay. Cool. 8 degrees Celsius.
93
okay.
is 199.
I need to know this if the Celsius gang is going to adopt me. I'll go 3 seconds of water. Ready? 3 and a beat. Just trying to make sure that my pour is even enough. Okay. I would measure out my water, but again, the scale that we have that can measure a lot of water is broken. So it's not the most exact comparison, but in this situation, sunny, because it's like what people say, it's so nice and sunny. And I'm like, oh, horrible. I hate the sun.
It's nice and cloudy now.
It's nice and cloudy now, yeah. It's extremely nice and cloudy now. All right.
Christine said their internet is out entirely, so we might be getting a little bit of that.
Really?
If the stream
oh my god, whenever I see the internet like go out, my first instinct is like, oh god, did Russia bomb? That's what I think. I'm like, what's wrong with the internet?
It's like, how does it go down? Exactly,
how does it go down? You know, that's my first instinctive thought. Right? It's like that's the first sign of the apocalypse happening. Like if there's like a nuclear strike that happens somewhere else, the first thing that's gonna go is the internet. I'm not always watching the news, you know? Okay. I don't always think about the world ending, but especially now, it's like, oh god, what happened? Yeah, I think so. This Kyusu here from Korea is the most difficult for me to handle. It's just got a really slippery glaze and a weird to use. Okay, I feel like they're not that even. It's not bad though, you know, we're pretty close, right? Like it's not it's not too far off. So let's arrange these so that I don't lose track of which one's which. Tokoname, Banco, right? And then Korean pot, and then the Tokoname carbonized. Oh, they look so beautiful. Yeah. We love our pots. Okay, I'm so glad they're getting some use. I don't like it when my pots just hang out for months and I'm like, I bought you, but I'm not going to use you for your intended purpose. Okay. Relatively even quantity, you know? Differences in color. Yeah, the Tokoname is pretty light. The Banco is pretty dark. And then this one is light again. Ooh, this one's light again. And then this one's pretty dark. You can see the differences in color here. Right, see how this one's more red and this one's a little bit more orange. And that's consistent with what we know about these pots from tests before. This one tends to make tea turn a really, really dark color. Sencha looks really green out of that pot. It's not my favorite taste. So yeah, let's try it out and get some cups going. I have a bazillion of these tasting cups, by the way. I got enough here? Yeah, I got enough. Thanks, Steven. Then we gotta preheat these. Then Eric says, I have a side handle that's difficult to use, probably due to it being so small. Yeah, the side handle on the Korean one is quite short, so it's a little bit difficult to use for me too. It's not my favorite. All right. Okie dokie. And then Discord friends, we were thinking about redoing our Tuesday hangout from last week. Same day, same time. Well, yeah, same time because we started at 5 o'clock last time. So after this live on Tuesday, if you guys are down to do our hangout on Discord, let me know. That's a joint voice chat that we're all just kind of like drinking tea and hanging out together. And if you don't have Discord right now, I highly recommend Discord. I know we keep talking about it, but it's just dope. I'm live on Instagram just a couple hours a day, but I spend a lot of time in the Discord talking and learning from everyone else who's in there. It's just, I really like that setting. I don't like just talking to myself and verifying my own ideas, you know? I like tea that's back and forth. Okay. Differences in color. Definitely these two, the Tokoname red clay and the Korean, have a lighter color, even if the quantities are not that different. Honestly, like I might not be exact on these, but it's not like the quantities were that different. And if you're thinking about steeping time, like, oh, these two were steeped longer because you didn't get to them fast enough. Not quite, because the darkest ones are this, which I poured second, and this one, which I poured fourth. So the Banko and the Tokoname carbonized are the darkest ones. See what the fragrance difference is. It's hard to describe the first one. Gotta compare. Wow, that's janky! Holy crap! Wow, this one's janky, and this is not janky at all what's on. That's so weird! Wow. So this smells a lot more clean, fresh, and fruity, and sweet. This one's more janky, kind of earthy, fermenty going on. This one's more mild, but with like kind of sharp fragrance. I don't really like that much. A little bit sour smelling. I'm not sure if I like that. Yeah, I don't like that very much. And that's sour too. Sweet but sour. So the one I like the best is this one. None of these pots so far I've liked with pu'er or heicha because I haven't tested them very much. So I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm hoping I'll have a pot that I like, you know, to use for heicha in the future. I do have a heicha and pu'er pot. We have a couple of them, but no side handle. So I'm curious to see if any of these we could use for the pu'er challenge coming up. To be fair, Hunan heicha and pu'er will taste pretty different. So before it's sweet, fruity, soft. That's the Tokoname Kyusu with a red clay. That's actually very pleasant. I like it a lot. So we'll taste these 4 Kyusus down. Again, this is a 2012 Gentle Giant Heicha from Tea and Whisk. It's a Tianjian Heicha. Very soft and kind of friendly for a Heicha, which is why I like it. And this one's sweet, soft, and fruity, the way that I like this tea. Maybe a little boring though. Like it needs a little bit of depth, I think. Let's go under this one, which smelled a little bit janky, a little bit more fermenty. So I wonder if the taste will be fermenty too. Yeah, that's weird. So it's got this kind of like raisiny, grapey taste, fermenty. It's got more texture, that's for sure. I like the texture from the Banko pot more than I do from the Tokoname, but it's got like a weird janky flavor that's not my favorite. It's not even janky in a good way. Some like test your pots or who would like to test your pots. When a pot just makes sense, you'll just know. You'll just be bam, that's the good pot. Do it side by side though, because you can't tell if that's the pot if you only have one. It's when you have it compared to one another that you're like, man, that just stands out. The pot that matches the tea you're working with will just stand out. I find like it's undeniable, it'll pop out. So while this is good, it's not the match. It's okay. Like I would take this over this, but it's still not the one. So interestingly, when I smelled this, I felt like it was sharp and it gave me a little bit of a headache. When I'm drinking this now, it tastes sharp and it's giving me a little bit of a headache. So that's really interesting. I really don't like that. I don't know why. It's just astringent and sour, and the good parts of this tea, like the sweetness, the fruitiness, the texture, are just completely gone in this teapot. The texture is thin. Yeah. Thin texture, taste is not good. Sharp is just not working. So this one's definitely not a good match. This is a Korean teapot. I forget the Korean potter's name. It's because of Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. I know Korean the least. We don't have the name for this, so if you want to ask us about this pot and where it's from, just DM me and I'll remember when I look at the artist note who it's from. But it's a lovely pot. I like this for white tea. It's incredible with white tea, but it's not my favorite for Heisha, and it doesn't seem to be that good for anything else. White tea works really well. Heisha, not so much, at least for this one. So these are both tokoname, okay? You take a clay like this, which is, a more standard firing, and then you apply carbon to it somehow in the process of firing, whether it's by like rice husks or other organic material, which causes the surface to go dark. And then you also I think you deprive it of oxygen. It's a reduction firing. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but with these two, this one was exposed to oxygen, which gives it that kind of like here with the iron particles, from what I understand. That's why it's red. It's got oxygen in the process, turns red, like rust. Here, it's not exposed to oxygen, so it doesn't oxidize, it doesn't turn red, instead it turns dark. And what's making it even darker is carbon, which if you've seen like charcoal or anything, or if you burn okra like I did today for lunch, I mean, we save carbon-based things turn dark. So that's what's happening with the carbonized reduction tokoname here. So same area, it's a little bit more aesthetic on the emphasis, like the focus was more on the aesthetics of this pot than the function and the performance. But I still really like it. Yeah, let's try it. Wow. that's really good. I'm surprised. Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. I didn't expect that. Yeah, this pot has been one of the most temperamental pots in my collection. By temperamental, I mean when I first got it, I got it again because like, wow, I love it. It's so beautiful. I'll figure it out what it's good for later, you know? So I got it, and then of course I brewed Japanese sencha in it because I'd already known by the time, just because it's from Japan doesn't mean it's good with sencha, but I just wanted to test it from there. It was terrible. It made the sencha look good. It was very green, but it made it taste horrible, sour and bitter and astringent, terrible. This is my Hui oolong pot. My Japanese Kyusu from Tokoname is my Hui oolong pot. And this pot makes Hui oolong taste fancier than it actually is. So higher end Hui is supposed to have more like minerality, more texture, more depth. This just boosts that quality of it. It makes an already good Hui even more minerally, more depth, more fruity, more rich, more everything. So this is the magic pot for Hui. I didn't think it would be so friendly to give me another option. This is really good. Wow. With this heicha, it's super delicious. Holy crap. So while this one is like a little thin, the texture here is full, it's deep, and see like it's like when you taste it, you just know. At least I know. Steven, you should test it out too. No? No? You might disagree with me. I don't care if you disagree with me. Come on, try it. I want to see if you have SHA, it's a sha clay. So very different material from this, just from a different country and stuff, but version than I did.
Which way did you start?
From here to here. Yeah. Then now I have my second sample, which is Steven. And why I do this is I trust my own palate. I trust myself and what I like, but I also make tea for other people quite a bit. Let's see, Eric, I know you've been talking over here. I just got excited about the pot. Before you buy a pot like Shigaraki, come and do a clay test here with me. I got it from Tanikawa Jin. That's the artist from Artistic Nippon. And actually, Toru at Artistic Nippon was really nice to be patient with me to make a smaller version because the artist actually makes quite large pots. And at the time, I was going through I want like a small pot kind of phase. I think it's a very valid phase. So, I asked them for a smaller pot, and they went through a couple rounds of testing and me saying like, I want the shape to be a little bit different. But they were patient with me enough to get it to the shape that I wanted. So I'm really happy that I have a small Tanikawa Jin pot. I've since asked again if they can get another small one done. They're like, nah, which is fair. Artists are busy, you know. I was honestly surprised that they're okay custom making a couple. So yeah, but they're beautiful. The pattern on the top is not the clay, but seaweed that's applied to the surface to get that kind of like mottled finish. It shines differently in the light too. All these tea wares look a lot better in person, that's for sure. It's reading a little bit like boring brownish in person, but in person it's more like deep golden copper and dark brown and little like spots.
The carbonized.
The carbonized? Dope.
So I really didn't like the vodka.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Bad.
Yeah. Sour. Okay. I liked better than this one, but
I thought the Korean one was.
But for me, I'm okay to just toss out all of our data here because we already have pots that do well. Like they already do well with other things. So I'm just gonna sweep the results over here. Grade for you.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It didn't make it bad. It just made the tea.
Right. So I agree that none of them made it bad. Actually, I think this one made it pretty bad, but it's not world-endingly bad.
Same for the vodka. It wasn't like
tea. And if you're not going to do that, just use a Gaiwan because a Gaiwan's to be good for everything. So if you are putting the effort into buying a nice pot, It's cheaper, it's easier to clean. A pot is so much more maintenance and so much more worry because it's more expensive. So I refuse to dedicate a pot unless I know what's good for it. You know, I test as much as possible. It took me about like 6 months to figure out the Wuyancha for this. It's just, yeah. And now I know it's good with Heicha. I like it a lot, actually. It was custom made for me. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it was custom made for me. It's just custom made to be smaller. But yeah, you know, Eric on chat is talking about Shigaraki pots. We talked about like Kobiwako pots at one point, Gaiwans, and I just Iga clay. There's just so many clays. And again, at first, at the very surface, it's a little bit overwhelming. I'm not a ceramicist. I don't think I'll ever be a ceramicist. I'm just too busy thinking about tea. And I have enough ceramicist friends who I can trust and admire by sides. You can do that. I can do that. You don't need to know where it's from. It helps to know a little bit about your pots. I like knowing a little bit so I can. It's someone who just wants a really good experience. And I'm confident that this is so friggin' outstanding that I'll bring this pot anyway. And they can admire how pretty it is. I don't gotta tell them it's carbonized Tokoname from Jin Tanaka. Like, I can go show off to my tea friends, you know, the tea. And yeah, we have the ability to design what we want in a tea. I feel like, you know, having practiced tea for a little bit over 10 years now, I really don't know as much as I'd like to, but I've gotten to the point that I'm able to design what I want in the tea based on the cups, the pots, the water, the setup. It's really, really, really freeing to be able to do that. Like, I'm not gonna get tripped up by a tea. I'm like, oh shit, why is this tea suddenly so horrible? It's amazing at home. Not knowing it's because they brought the wrong pot because I wanted to show off, you know? That's what we want to avoid. And you want to have the confidence that what you're drinking is because of the tea itself and not an issue with the pot choice, you know? So yeah. I'm surprised, Steven. I'm really happy this tastes good with Heicha. Then you find one for pu'er, because just because it's good with Heicha, Funan Heicha, doesn't mean it's good with pu'er. They're different, you know? So, Eric, I have custom made pots, but they're custom made for you. Even more, I don't want to trade off with them, with you, you know? So anyway, we've done some practice for sure. I'm just happy to get some use out of my pots. I'm about Japanese Kyusu, just teaware in general. Anyone else you saw in chat, I'm sure they'll be just fine answering any question that you had about anything else, because, you know, y'all winners. Like,
the teaware channel on the Discord.
The teaware channel on the Discord is a good place to go. We're going to go there to invest in a nice Tokoname pot. Yeah, any questions about pricing, sourcing, performance, how to hold a Kyusu, other things, let me know. There's still so many other things we want to talk about with Kyusu, like technique, but another day. We gotta go, like, Uchila and have some tea and stuff. So yeah, thank you for joining us today for our live. It's been really fun. Tomorrow we'll be live again. I'm not sure if we'll do YouTube because the connection's been really bad on it. We'll see what we can figure out. If anyone has any YouTube, you know, knowledge, drop them on me. We got to figure that out. And then Tuesday, probably we'll have a Discord hangout. And then see you also on Tuesday for a Discord hangout. The Discord invite is on my link in the bio. And yeah. I don't want to say jazz hands. I don't really like jazz. People are going to hate me. Jazz is okay if it's good. I've learned that for sure. Goodbye.